not from some cosmic event or stellar anomaly, but by design. The Galactic Compact's expansion armada had arrived. 16 capital dreadnoughts, 94 war cruisers, thousands of drone fighters, their hulls shimmering with shifting alloys that caught the starlight and warped it around them. To Earth's low-orbit telescopes, the fleet resembled a black tide. Beautiful, deadly, certain. On board the command ship Dominion's Grace, Supreme Strategist Vector Lunox leaned over a translucent battle table, his 6 digits tapping an idle rhythm. The holographic projection of Earth spun slowly under his gaze. "So that's it?" he muttered, slitted eyes narrowing. "One habitable rock. An infant's toy box of satellites. And where's their fleet?" A junior tactician, feathers still tinged with juvenile green, bowed. "High strategist, long-range scans confirm. 22 ships. None above Class Tier 2. Primitive armor. No warp capability. Ion drive signatures suggest late-stage fusion tech. Their largest orbital platform appears incomplete." Vector scoffed. "They've had 2 centuries since first contact, and this is what they offer." Laughter trickled around the bridge. Thin, dry chuckles from insectoid advisors. Rasping mirth from a reptilian systems engineer. Even the AI hologram flickered in approval, its face morphing into a mock-human grin. "Let it be recorded," Vector declared, voice amplified to every vessel. "The primitives chose defiance. Let them be taught the cost." In the shadowed craters of Luna's far side, Captain Rika Sorrel watched the spectacle unfold through a narrow viewport. Her hands, calloused and steady, gripped the cold railing. The fleet had arrived faster than Earth's council predicted. Not a message, not a warning, just a wall of metal blotting out the void. Compact formations holding. "No atmospheric breaches," said Aura, the command AI, her voice smooth and eerily calm. "They appear entertained." Rika's lip twitched. She turned from the viewport, stepping down into the control pit. The walls pulsed with quiet blue light, every panel embedded with adaptive nanoglass. No clutter, no distractions, just decisions. Status of cannon silos 3 through 6? Nominal. Power build confirmed. Coil arrays are charging at 63%. Targeting sync? Locked to 10 key vessels. Priority, Dreadnought class. Rika exhaled. It sounded like a sigh, but it was calculated, controlled. She didn't blink often when she was focused, a habit that unnerved the younger officers. Let them be unnerved. Fear sharpened when it mattered. "Commander Rix," she called. A gray-haired man with a bionic eye turned. "Deploy the ghost ships. All 20. Make it messy." He nodded without question. "Decoys en route. They'll read as manned. Just long enough." She tapped the central hollow table, the image of Earth flickering into view. Above it hovered the compact fleet, majestic and bloated with pride. "You think we're weak," she said softly. Back aboard Dominion's Grace, the laughter continued. "They've launched," one of Vector's lieutenants chuckled. "I count 20, maybe 22 ships. They're scrambling, probably still fueled by old-world fossil debris." Vector didn't even look up. "Engage them with drones. No need to waste antimatter rounds." The first wave of fighters streaked forward, autonomous wings fanning out like steel locusts. Within seconds, the human ships responded. Some turned to flee, others spun with surprising precision. A few vanished entirely behind ECM clouds. Aboard the Sungazer, a compact drone command vessel, pilot Karel frowned. "Strange, those ships aren't broadcasting the same signature. It's almost like static." Then silence. The Sungazer lit up in a blossom of flame. Hull split apart by a pulse that came from nowhere. Then another drone ship winked out. No impact, just deletion. On Luna, the command center hummed with energy. 3 compact vessels disabled, Aura reported. The ghost ships did their job. Rika kept her expression flat. And the cannon alignments? Final phase. A murmur rippled across the bridge as lights dimmed, rerouted power coursing toward the buried railguns. Rika stepped into the center, eyes locked onto the projection of the enemy fleet. They came laughing, she said. Arrogance makes a poor shield. Commander Rix turned toward her. Permission to fire on your command? No, Rika said. Not yet. Let them think we're scrambling. Let them mock our little fleet just a moment longer. Vector reclined in his throne, bored. Why haven't we received a surrender broadcast yet? One of his aides blinked nervously. They may still believe they can repel us. There is a strange pattern to their silence. The supreme strategist waved it off. It doesn't matter. Begin the atmosphere burn. Let them see fire from their skies. Then, the lights on the bridge dimmed. A cold tone sounded. Sharp, alien. Then came the voice, human, crisp and calm, echoing across the fleet's comms in perfect translation. You came here for a lesson. Pay attention. Every compact ship locked up for 0.8 seconds. Enough for every AI system to freeze in place. Enough for every autocannon to stop tracking. Then, from the dark side of the moon, the surface shifted. What had looked like old impact craters split open, their walls folding back like petals. Inside, not weapons, monuments. 10 orbital cannons, rail-driven, magnetic-sealed, deep-core powered. Each the size of a skyscraper. Buried since before first contact. Then, light. Not like a laser. Not plasma. A kinetic bolt moving so fast it tore a dreadnought in half before sensors registered its presence. Another blast followed. Then 2 more. The compact fleet fractured. In Luna Command, Rika didn't move. Only her eyes followed the incoming reports. 4 confirmed kills, Aura said. 2 dreadnoughts. 1 cruiser. 1 gone without classification. Likely their command relay. Rika nodded once. Hold fire. Let them scream first. Seconds passed. Then compact chatter flooded the channels. Confused, panicked, furious. She leaned forward. Send them the old Earth phrase, Commander. Rick smirked. Which one? Rika's lips curled. The one they'll remember. Back aboard Dominion's Grace, Vector stared at the wreckage outside his viewport. How? He whispered. Then a message flashed on every compact screen. A human phrase. Simple. Untranslated. Captain Rika Sorrel stood in silence as the lunar tremors faded. Beneath her boots, the deep-core generators settled back into standby hums. Outside, Earth's pale light bled across the lunar horizon. Calm, oblivious, still spinning. Status, she said. Aura's voice responded instantly. All 10 cannons report full recoil recovery. Capacitor coils charging at 40%. Cooldown initiated. She nodded once. Efficiency, not celebration. No high fives. No speeches. There wasn't time. And even if there were, Rika wasn't built for ceremony. The compact fleet had just been handed its first real defeat in a century. And it was only the opening note. She turned to the tactical deck. Rix, pull the remaining decoys back. Patch their rec signals to loop broadcast. Keep the fleet guessing. Commander Rix nodded, his voice raspy. Their sensor sweeps are still lagging. We've bought maybe 10 minutes. 10's enough. 12 years earlier, Rika had huddled in a cracked maintenance bay on Europa Station. She was 16, bloody, hiding beneath shattered conduit lines as alien drones crawled over the wreckage. A compact probe, unauthorized, supposedly, had fired first. The retaliation was swift, total. The station burned. She remembered the sound more than the heat. Metal splitting. Screams filtered through vacuum. The unbearable silence when power died. A rescue skiff found her 3 days later. She hadn't spoken for a week. That same silence lived in her now. It had shaped her, sharpened her. Earth wasn't going to become another Europa. Back in the present, Rika stepped through a sealed bulkhead into the chamber housing the primary targeting core. Unlike the sterile smoothness of the command center, this room was all muscle, thick cables, steam pipes, the copper stench of heat-bled metal. It felt alive. At the heart of the chamber stood the phase array, a spindle of gleaming nodes that blinked in slow unison. 10 AI subprocessors, each bound to a cannon, flickered inside. A technician in exo-armor turned at her approach. We've synced 4 more targeting solutions. Next volley can be automated. Unless you want manual override. She looked at the displays. Automated for now. If they bring shielding arrays online, we'll recalibrate manually. Rika rested her palm on the edge of the core terminal. If the compact's still breathing after this, they'll assume this was our best shot. And it wasn't, the tech asked. Rika smiled faintly. Not even close. Above Luna, compact fleet remnants swirled in confusion. 3 ships broke formation, panicked pilots attempting to retreat. They vanished in bursts of light, caught by kinetic mines disguised as debris. The rest hesitated, forming a haphazard defensive shell. Inside Dominion's grace, Vector clutched the edge of his throne. Blood seeped between his claws. We underestimated them, his aide whispered. No, Vector snapped. We didn't estimate at all. That was the mistake. He turned to the communications officer. Open wideband. I want every species, every broadcast relay to hear this. The officer's mandibles clicked. Transmitting. Vector leaned forward. This is Supreme Strategist Vector Lunox of the Galactic Compact. Earth's actions constitute a war crime under Accord Directive 8. Immediate surrender is the only path to mercy. You have 10 minutes to respond. The message echoed through Luna Command. No one flinched. No one stopped working. Rika leaned back in her chair. Put me through. Aura complied. Her voice was calm, direct. This is Captain Rika Sorrel, commanding officer of the Luna Orbital Defense Network. We do not recognize your authority. And mercy? You wouldn't know the meaning. She leaned forward. You have 10 minutes, Vector. Use them to right your will. She cut the line. The targeting array lit up. New ships inbound, Aura reported. Reinforcements. 20 light-years out. ETA. 11 minutes. Commander Rix turned sharply. That's a second wave. Rika didn't blink. Of course it is. He stepped closer. We can't hold 2 fleets, Captain. Not with recharge times where they are. She nodded. We won't have to. He waited, brow furrowed. Then it clicked. You're going to activate the Electo Protocol. Deep beneath Luna's surface, nestled within old Soviet drill shafts, was humanity's most guarded secret. Not a weapon, but a strategy. The Electo Protocol wasn't named after a gun or satellite, but a fury. Aura's voice softened. Warning. Deploying Electo will burn remaining stealth reserves. Once launched, Compact will identify the source. Doesn't matter, Rika said. They already know where we are. What they don't know is how many pieces they're in. The Electo drones launched in silence. No flame, no heat signature. Just a pulse. One by one. Dozens of black, mirrored pods that slipped from hidden chutes and vanished into the void. Each pod was laced with interference dampers, carrying nothing but smart dust and self-guided explosives. They wouldn't win a war, but they would end this battle. 10 minutes passed. The compact fleet waited for surrender. Then, like insects sprayed from the shadows, their mid-tier vessels exploded in synchronized bursts. Crippled, scattered, blind. Inside Luna Command, Rika stood still, arms behind her back. She didn't celebrate. There was no victory yet. Only silence again. Awaiting silence. Reinforcements will arrive in 60 seconds, Aura said. Rika turned. Get me full control of the lunar fangs. The Leviathan protocol? Rix asked, stunned. Already? She nodded. There won't be anything left, Captain. Exactly. The core vault trembled like a sleeping volcano disturbed. Deep within Luna's crust, a sealed silo, untouched since before Rika was born, groaned as ancient clamps released. Steam hissed through pressure valves. Subterranean lights flickered on for the first time in decades. Aura's voice, steady but slower than usual, echoed in the command bunker. Leviathan array is now online. Reactor spool at 30%. Estimated time to full charge, 4 minutes, 12 seconds. Captain Rika Sorrell's face was lit only by warning strobes and tactical readouts. Her voice stayed even. Open silo bay doors. Angle targeting dish 12 degrees west of geosync. Confirm lock on Vectar's flagship. Commander Rix stood beside her, jaw tight. Once we fire, the core will destabilize. That's not theory anymore. That's a guarantee. Rika didn't look at him. Better Luna cracks than Earth burns. No one spoke after that. Everyone understood. There were decisions leaders made. And then there were decisions only survivors could afford. In orbit, Dominion's Grace began final sequence preparations. Inside the command chamber, Supreme Strategist Vectar barked orders in a language built more for threat than conversation. Planet Stripper Lances 1 through 3 are locked. Begin gravitational lens calibration. One of his lieutenants approached, unsure. The fleet is still exposed. Should we not? No, Vectar snapped. We cannot beat these Earthlings in precision. They've proven that. But we can erase their cradle. Once Earth burns, their moon falls next. Then the rebellion dies in the silence. He turned to the forward viewport, where Luna's surface shimmered. And if I must salt the stars to do it, he growled, then I salt them. In the Luna control bunker, a low hum began. It wasn't mechanical. It was something deeper, like pressure building in the marrow of the moon itself. Technicians paused at their consoles as the sensation sank into their bones. Rix steadied himself at the railing. This thing was never meant to be fired in peace, was it? No, Rika said. It was born during the era of panic. Built when we thought they'd glass Earth in a day. Its purpose was always singular. Deterrence through oblivion. Aura spoke again, more strained now. Leviathan charge at 80%. Warning, magnetic field stress approaching critical. Lunar core containment will fail 2 minutes post-discharge. Rika's eyes didn't waver. One shot. That's all we need. Down in the core, Leviathan completed its wake cycle. The weapon wasn't a gun in the traditional sense. It was an inverted particle drill, one designed to tunnel through gravity, mass, and space-time itself. It didn't shoot at ships. It erased their right to exist in that coordinate. Above, compact ships adjusted formation. Scans showed a final pulse building beneath Luna. Some assumed it was a reactor overload. Others, a failed shield cycle. Few understood what was about to happen. Even Vectar hesitated. Report, he demanded. His sensor officer trembled. Luna's crust is pulsing, like it's alive. Target locked, Aura confirmed. Ready to fire. Rika exhaled once. Do it. The floor shook. Not violently, but deeply, like a wave traveling beneath thought. Every screen blinked. Every dial jumped. Even Aura's voice clipped for half a second. And then, with no noise, no flash, Leviathan fired. The compact flagship Dominion's Grace didn't explode. It didn't burn or break apart. It ceased. Where once hung a kilometer-long cruiser, there was now a silence, an absence. The space it occupied rippled like heat haze, and then even that faded. No debris. No energy signature. Not even static. As if the ship had been plucked from the fabric of time. In the command bunker, Rick swore under his breath. Aura's voice returned, rough but intact. Target annihilated. 0-point discharge complete. Core destabilization in progress. You have 2 minutes, 21 seconds before rupture. Rika turned without hesitation. Begin evacuation. Code Black. I want every crew out of here and back to Earth in under 2 minutes. But you? Rick started. I'll stay to monitor fail-safe protocols. That cannon cracked more than just bedrock. Someone has to make sure we don't take the whole side of the planet with us. He opened his mouth to protest, but Rika's look ended it. She had made peace with her decision before she gave the order. Rick's nodded once hard. See you on the other side. No, she said softly. You'll remember me on the other side. Across the battlefield, compact vessels flinched. The flagship was gone. No signal. No explosion, just absence. Their comms burst into crosstalk and panic. Lesser captains screamed for retreat. Others went silent, unsure if silence was now preferable. In the face of the unknown, even the most violent empire hesitated. Rika stood alone on the observation deck above the Leviathan core. The glow below now pulsed erratically, brighter with each second. The walls creaked. Girders groaned like whales. Aura's voice had dropped to a whisper, static bleeding into every word. Captain, magnetic field at failure threshold. Evacuation advised. I know, Rika murmured. But Earth's safe now. She pulled out an old data chip from a pouch in her uniform. Small, scratched, faded letters on its side. Europa Station, Survivor Log, Sorrel R. She slid it into the console. Upload this to EarthGov. My final report. Confirmed. Transmission complete. Outside the deck's narrow viewport, Earth hung serene, blue, vast, utterly unaware. Then the core collapsed. Luna's surface convulsed as if exhaling. A blast of molten rock erupted through sealed chambers and buried canyons. The Leviathan reactor folded inward, dragging 1,000 tons of metal, data, and history with it. But the moon did not shatter. Its mantle cracked, but held, barely. Back on Earth, in Cheyenne Mountain, Admiral Chun watched the readings flatten. Silence followed. No one moved. No one breathed. Then, finally, a single incoming ping. Aura's voice, fractured, partial, but there. Leviathan discharge. Success. Enemy routed. Captain Sorrel status. Unknown. Chun lowered his head. In orbit, the compact fleet staggered. Without a flagship, with dreadnoughts torn apart by invisible weapons and commanders dead or vanished, they did the one thing the Galactic Compact hadn't done in centuries. They retreated. Ships twisted into jump corridors and vanished, leaving only broken hulls and drifting debris. On Earth, a girl stood on a cliffside near Kyoto. She pointed up at the moon, where a fresh scar now sliced across the southern face. "Papa," she whispered. "The moon, it changed." Her father stared in silence. And after a long pause, he nodded. "It protected us," he said. "It always has." 3 days after the Compact's retreat, Earth was quiet in a way no one expected. No sirens, no emergency broadcasts, just birdsong and wind. For the first time in living memory, humanity wasn't bracing for an attack. It was listening. In the control tower at Cheyenne Mountain, Admiral Chun watched the transmission logs. Still nothing. No new contact from Luna. No signal from Rika Sorrel. Only fragments, burnt audio packets, static-laced telemetry, and one corrupted video loop showing the Leviathan firing. She'd made her choice. They all knew it. But knowing didn't make it easier. "Patch me into GlobalNet," Chun said finally. The technician nodded. Live in 10 seconds. Chun stood before the hollow emitter, adjusting the silver clasp on his collar. The seal of Earth's defense coalition gleamed faintly under the light. When the signal turned green, he began. To all citizens of Earth, Mars, and the colonies, this is Admiral Jun Chun. I bring you truth. His voice was firm, but not cold. The invasion is over. The compact has retreated beyond the solar rim. We have won, but not without loss. A long pause. There will be no monument tall enough for what Captain Rika Sorrel gave us. No statue wide enough to carry the weight of her name. But know this, she didn't just defend Earth. She reminded us what we are. Not conquerors, not scavengers. We are survivors, builders, fighters when we must be. He exhaled, and now we rebuild. The feed ended. Across every continent, silence followed. Then cheering, then tears. Far above, in the fractured moon, the Leviathan core had cooled into obsidian. The impact zone had sealed under pressure, forming a crater ringed by molten glass. Automated drones sent by Mars drifted over the site, scanning, mapping, recording, but finding no trace of Rika Sorrel. Until one of them stopped. At the edge of the blast zone, embedded in a shard of twisted bulkhead, a data crystal blinked. Faint but alive. The drone's AI flagged the signal and transmitted it instantly to Earth. Chun sat alone in his office when the decrypted message arrived. It played automatically. The hologram shimmered to life. Rika appeared, seated at the Leviathan's final console. Her hair was matted, her suit darkened by heat and dust. But her eyes were clear. "If you're watching this," she said. The shot worked. "They're gone." She leaned forward, elbows on her knees. "I never wanted to be a martyr. Heroes are usually dead people who did the right thing one time too many. But I chose this. Because Earth is worth it. Because we're worth it." She looked off to the side for a moment, then back at the recorder. "I was 12 when Europa fell. I watched my mother die in a pressure breach. There was nothing noble about it. Just fear and cold and silence. I swore then I'd never let humanity be small again. Never let us be easy to break. A breath. If I'm gone, remember that. We didn't win because of tech or numbers. We won because we refused to die quiet." She smiled faintly. "And because orbital cannons make very loud statements." The feed ended. Chun stared at the empty space where she'd been. Then he stood and called for a global press address. Within days, Earth declared a new day of remembrance, Sorrel's dawn. Every colony was to hold a moment of silence on the lunar hour Rika had fired the Leviathan. And every new Defense Coalition cadet would be sworn in facing the moon. Meanwhile, in deep orbit, the compact wasn't gone. Just wounded. On the deck of a crippled frigate drifting near Saturn, strategist Kavak, the newly appointed Supreme in Vectar's absence, watched the footage of Luna's counterstrike on a loop. "It was not a weapon," he muttered, claws clicking. "It was surgery on reality." The ship's science officer stepped beside him. "We underestimated their desperation." "No," Kavak growled. "We underestimated their creativity. The humans didn't fight to win. They fought to survive. That's a different kind of war." He turned away from the monitor. "We won't make that mistake again." Back on Earth, Rick stood at the Lunar Memorial Site, overlooking the southern crater, now officially renamed Sorrel Scar. Aura's backup voice, patched through from Luna's remaining data centers, spoke beside him. Captain Sorrel's body was not recovered. However, telemetry suggests she reached the Leviathan's external shelter module before critical collapse. Rix frowned. "Are you telling me she could have survived?" "Unknown. But her suit had an autonomous hibernation rig. It's possible she was ejected during magnetic inversion." "Possible," he echoed. He stared out at the scar. The moon looked quieter now. Like it, too, was in mourning. She wouldn't want statues, he said aloud. She'd want a damn good fleet in her name. Then you should build one. The Sorel Initiative launched less than 6 months later. A new defense doctrine. A new class of warships. Sleek, fast, and unorthodox. Designed not for domination, but disruption. Built using recovered compact alloys and Luna's own gravitational secrets. Every ship bore the same emblem. A small Earth vessel firing upward at an enemy 100 times its size. And they called them the Whispers. Because sometimes, the quietest voice in the dark is the one that ends the war. Somewhere, far past Mars, beyond mapped routes, an escape pod drifted in the void. Its beacon long dead. Its shielding failing. Inside, a cryo chamber blinked. Once every 24 hours, a low chime echoed in the dark. A soft hum, then silence again. And in that silence, Captain Rika Sorel slept on, face calm, pulse steady, waiting for someone to find her.